How do you go about quoting a job? Well, I'll give you 10 steps. If you stick to these steps, quoting a job will be easy and get easier and easier over time. Number one, understanding exactly what the customer or the client wants doing. So go around there, visit the site, take notes, take pictures if you need to, so you know exactly what the customer needs and what they want doing in their property. Number two, calculate all the materials for the job. The sockets, the cables, your sundries like the screws and the fixings. And if they've got, like, say, a Hager board, you're going to have to put Hager RCBOs in. So consider the brand of what you're going to put in there as well, because obviously the brands, sometimes they cost a little bit more. So determine what the material cost is going to be and add that to your quote. Number three, work out your labour costs. You have a rough idea how long it's going to take, and depending on the size of the job, if it's a big job where you're going to be there a couple of weeks, always add on, make a few hours, maybe add that on, or add on a day even, just in case anything changes. Number four, make sure to take into consideration your business expenses, like your insurance, your NAPIT or NIC registration, everything that you have to pay by yearly, your tool costs, because after all, you're running a business and you're in this to make money. And number five, contingency. I've said this before, but I'll say it again, because things never go to plan. There's always something that comes up. Maybe the room needs clearing, or hang about, yeah, I didn't empty that room out for you to get the floorboards up. Make sure you add that into your quote, just in case, because at the end of the day, it's a quote. So if you do it a little bit quicker, you can always knock off that hour you put on. But as long as the customer knows how much it will cost and you detail in that quote what you're going to do, then they should be happy. Number six, check if you need any like local permits or anything like that, especially if you're going to move the head. Because even though the head might be moved sort of 2 foot to one side, I can guarantee you that they'll charge you £500 to come out just to move it. It might be a 10-minute job, but there's nothing you can do. I've done it with Western Power before. They come out, they move the meter to the other side of the wall, but yeah, that's still £500. And that, if you've been asked to quote for that as well, then you've got to add that in. So make sure you call up like Western Power or whoever owns that cable that's coming into that property to get a quote from them. Number seven, present the quote in the most professional manner you can, with everything detailed of everything what you're going to do, because you know for a fact someone will come along and say, oh, whilst you're here, can you put this light up? Can you do that light? Can you add another socket? So make sure you detail in your quote everything you're going to do and everything that's included, especially if you're VAT registered. Make sure you let them know that there will be VAT added on at the end, because when that comes as a surprise to a customer, they're not always happy. Number eight, make sure you keep in contact with that customer, because sometimes you might have to wait a couple of days or maybe a week or two to get a quote from another contractor that maybe, like I say, Western Power, they might not get back to you straight away. So just keep up with email to let them know that, yeah, it's in process. I'm still waiting for a quote back to see how much that head's going to be costing you to move. So make sure you let them know that you haven't forgotten, basically, because sometimes people ask people to come out for a quote, and electricians or other trades, they just won't bother quoting. They'll forget about them. So if you keep your customers happy by keeping in communication with them, they'll think, yeah, he's a good lad. So they'll keep you in mind for when doing ongoing projects as well. Number nine, always keep reviewing like the materials costs, because especially at the moment, the past few years, materials have gone up. So if you did maybe a job for £500 a year ago and someone gets in contact with you and say, we've moved into a new property, we need exactly the same doing, can you install exactly the same once again? Review it. Make sure that the material cost hasn't gone up, and well, sometimes the property might be a different size, so go out and check it again, because you do not want to be out of pocket. And then number 10, follow up with your customer. Don't just send them the quote and go, right, I'm just waiting to accept it. Let them know in the email or at the end of the quote that if you have any questions that you're happy to answer. Because maybe sometimes a customer might think, hang about, yeah, he hasn't added this, he hasn't added that, because you do forget things sometimes. Saying like, oh yeah, I do want a garage supply as well. Forgot to add that in, and that's going to be obviously an additional cost. So if you keep in contact with the customers, just to say, look, is everything happy? Is everything okay? Do you have any questions regarding the quote? It shows that you care a little bit in your commitment to the project. So that's 10 simple steps to stick to when quoting for a job. Stick to them steps and just keep quoting, and quoting will get easier and faster as you go.